Hello, everyone. You're all welcome to the second session on corporate social responsibility in India. First of all, thanks a lot for your comments and your queries, and we'll try and address those as we proceed ahead in these sessions on this subject. In the first session, we had talked about the evolution of the concept in India in reference to the global developments. The Companies Act 2013 adopted two things. One was the stakeholder governance for the board to take into consideration the interest of employees, shareholders, community, and the protection of environment. The second thing that was adopted was Section 135, the specific corporate social responsibility provision. This, along with Schedule 7, which lists down the activities that can be taken up to take CSR projects, and CSR rules, the CSR policy rules, all that came into effect on the 1st April 2014. Just a little before we go into the details of the provision, let's just see how it had come to be as part of the 2013 Act. The 2009 Companies Bill did not contain Section 135. It only came into the 2011 Companies Amendment Bill, and that was based on the 2011 National Voluntary Guidelines that MCA had notified on the social, environment, and economic responsibilities of the business. It specifically provided for encouraging the business action on national development priorities, including community development initiatives and strategic CSR based on the shared value concept. This is how Section 135 came into be in the 2011 Companies Bill. Section 135, as contained in the Companies Amendment Bill of 2011, was different from what was finally incorporated in the Act. It was based on the best endeavor premise. What it required for certain companies meeting certain financial threshold was to make every endeavor to spend the CSR amount. This language, best endeavor, was taken out of the final draft at the time of adoption. So, in terms of specific premise of the provision, it changed from best endeavor to comply or explain. The first condition is the applicability. So, which are these CSR companies? The CSR companies are, the provision starts from saying every company. So, there is no distinction whether it's a private company, unlisted company, or a public listed company. Every company which meets certain thresholds. So, these thresholds are firstly the net worth. If a company has a net worth of rupees 500 crores or more. Net worth is basically the entire paid up share capital of the company and all the reserves created out of the profit, including security premium. After deduction of the aggregate of all losses and other expenses. The second condition is the rupees 1000 crore or more of turnover. So this is again the value of all the realization of the sales of products or services offered. And finally, the third is the net worth, net profit. The net profit is to be calculated in accordance with the Section 198 of the Companies Act. So, any company which meets any one of these three financial conditions in any financial year will be a CSR company. Now, how much money that needs to be spent? So, what is CSR spent? How is that calculated? What the section provides is that any company meeting these conditions in any financial year will take an average of the net profit of three preceding financial years, and 2% of that would be the CSR spend. Now, in this regard, one of the criticisms that came later was what about the companies which are newly incorporated? If they are only in existence for a year or 2 years, but less than 3 years, but somehow or for they meet one of the financial conditions. In that regard, again, MCA gave the notification and clarification that this condition is applicable even for less than 3 years. So, any new company, if meeting any of the conditions in any financial year, will take an average of the less time rather than the 3 years as prescribed. The third condition for the provision is the CSR, the means of spending this amount. So this amount can be spent through any third party registered society or trust which has a prescribed number of years as an experience for conducting similar kind of activities. The other way of spending this amount is by way of incorporating a Section 8 company either by the company itself or any of its holding company, subsidiary, or an associate company. The other condition that is required to be met is constituting the CSR committee. So, what the section requires that every CSR company will compose a CSR committee with 3 directors, at least one of which should be an independent director. Again, for those companies which are private or unlisted companies which are not meeting the threshold to appoint an independent director, they have been exempted to constitute the committee with 3 directors, or in case of a private company, if they only have 2 directors, and with the 2 directors. This committee has a specific role to play. One is formulation of the CSR policy. This policy should clearly set out the activities that the company the plans to undertake. This committee should also recommend the amount that can be spent on each of the activities. And thirdly, the committee is required to monitor the implementation of the policy. The CSR policy again in itself must set out the projects or programs that the company plans to undertake and the mechanism or the entire process of monitoring and implementation of the plans. The other most important condition is what is the role of the board in this CSR provision. So as we discussed that it has to be comply or explain. So it's the responsibility and accountability of the board to ensure the implementation. First of all, the board has to approve the CSR policy after taking into consideration the recommendations made by the CSR committee. The board also has to ensure that the company undertakes the activities that it has set out to undertake in its policy. Then the board is also required to make disclosure in its report. So every board is required to submit a board's report as a part of the annual report submitted uh, uh, by the company along with the statutory audit conducted. So this board's report is required to contain firstly the composition of the committee, secondly the CSR policy, and thirdly the details on the implementation of the CSR activities, and most importantly in case this company has failed or has not undertaken the expenditure of the entire CSR amount, then also clarify the reasons for not doing so. So this is how this whole comply and explain premise was incorporated in the provision and was also considered to be sufficient for as a check. This policy is also required to be disclosed on the website of the company. What kind of CSR activities can be undertaken? There is a list that forms part of the Schedule 7. So Schedule 7 lists down the list of activities that the company can undertake as a CSR activity. This schedule has been amended at least 7 times since the provision and the schedule has come into effect. So it contains all sorts of activities such as eradication of poverty, slum development, or health, preemptive health measures, women care, and gender equality. It also contains a list of the central and state welfare funds and schemes. So if a company is unable to spend or wants to also contribute to these funds that are undertaken by the government, then they can also contribute to those funds. So this contribution to the government funds is something which has been creating a sort of discrepancy on two ends. One is so the contribution to certain funds is tax exempted. So that creates an additional incentive to for corporates or boards to contribute to the funds instead of having to undertake activities themselves. So this defeats the whole objective of the CSR, which is actually to make corporates perform their social responsibility. So this we'll discuss in detail in the next session when we discuss the high-powered committee reports and the kind of criticism that has been coming in last few years since the implementation of the act. In brief, so the companies can take up any activities from Schedule 7. They can do it themselves or through third party society or agencies or their own Section 8 companies. They can also collaborate with other companies. This is to benefit smaller companies which don't have extensive CSR spend, as in the prescribed amount. So the whole process of incurring that cost and in the right way creates an additional administrative and overhead cost, which is already sort of there is a ceiling that you cannot spend more than 5% of the CSR spend on administrative and such overhead costs. So that kind of collaboration is permitted between companies, smaller companies with smaller spends, so long as they are able to report their CSR compliance with the details of the projects and their monitoring. What MCA later also clarified is that these firstly that Schedule 7 should be interpreted liberally. So the idea is to capture the essence. And then it also clarified that one-off events such as marathon or charitable sponsorships, etc., will not form part of the CSR expenditure. Again, the compliance with any kind of labor laws or its amount spends on in terms of in kind for the time invested by the employees of the companies, all that will not form part of the CSR expenses. And in case there is the entire amount is not spent, that amount, leftover amount or surplus will not form part of the profits of the company. So in conclusion, so far as the compliance requirement is concerned, the companies which meet the prescribed thresholds, the financial thresholds, are required to constitute CSR committee. For public listed companies, that committee must contain one independent director. The unlisted companies which do not form the threshold, do not meet the threshold of appointing independent directors, can constitute the CSR committee with at least 3 directors. And private companies, if they only have 2 directors, then with the 2 directors only. This committee is required to formulate the policy, make its recommendation to the board, ensure the monitoring of this policy and the implementation in terms of the projects and activities undertaken. The board on the other hand is required to approve the policy in taking into consideration the recommendations made by the CSR committee. Then it is also obligated to ensure the implementation of the policy and to make right disclosures in the board report. The format of the disclosures is provided in Rule 8 and 9 of the CSR rules, which among various things prescribe disclosure for CSR expenditure, CSR activities undertaken, the geographical area covered, and such other details. The prescribed form for filing the financial statements has the built-in fields to capture these details. So far as the penalty is concerned, as previously mentioned, the idea or the objective of the provision was comply or explain. So there was no penalty prescribed in the original provision in case of failure to firstly spend the CSR amount or failure to make any disclosures in the board report as required by the provision. This situation did change with the 2019 amendment bill, where there was criminal liability also prescribed, but that all we will discuss in the next section. So in meanwhile, please feel free to put in your queries and your comments, and see you in next session. Thank you.